Hi everybody, and welcome to this video on how to make your own weeds for your model railways and dioramas. So what are we going to use then to make these weeds? Well, would you believe it, they're actually Pico track pins. Yep, just simple track pins. So, before we go any further, we'll put our holding jig together. You've seen me make one of these in the previous video on painting figures. And we're just going to put the pins into the blue tack, so they're all held in place, so they're easy to get hold of and easy to paint. And before we do any more, we have to fill this up. Just like that. I try and fill both sides, get as many on as you can. Best to use a pair of tweezers for doing this, save pricking the end of your finger and doing any damage to yourself. Just be careful as you go along. So get as many on as you can, because as you notice in your garden, when you get weeds growing, you tend to get lots of them. Okay, I think that's enough for this project. So what we'll do is get an old clothes peg, use that to hold them in place, just make sure that's pushed all the way down, firmly held so it can't move around, and we can use that now to get these sprayed up and not get paint all over our hands. So, question is, what paint are we going to use? Well, would you believe I'm actually going to use car paint, and the colour is good old-fashioned Ford Meadow Green. Yes, that was quite a nice little coincidence there, meadow green for painting plants. But, that's about the right shade I think for what we were doing. And when it's done, they look a bit like this. There we are. Make sure you get a nice even coating over both sides and all around the ends. Reason for painting them up now is that obviously these are representing small plants and the stems are mostly green or brown. So get a good coating on there, so it's easier to do it now than later. Type of weeds I'm doing are going to be dandelions. So two colours for these. The yellow is Humbrol Acrylic 69. That's obviously for the dandelion head, the bright yellow heads. And Humbrol 67 is going to be done for when they're in seed. Around the base of your dandelions, you'll notice in your garden, they've got some leaves and bits of vegetation. I'm going to go back to my pot of plastic sprue I got from the florist many years ago. Again, you've seen these before on the video on how to make bushes and vines. So we're going to go through these and I'm just going to trim off a couple of little bits from them, which again will be trimmed down to make them roughly the right size to represent those leaves and bits you find just growing underneath the plant on the real thing. So pick out the few we like and we'll get those removed and I'll show you how we stick them all together. So, bearing in mind, of course, that to scale, these little leaves are a millimetre or two at most. We're going to be looking to pick off just little bits from the ends on each one, trim them down to roughly the right size, and then we'll obviously adjust them with a pair of flat pliers, just give them a bit of a twist so they've not got that flat profile, that shape, and then they're ready to go and be fitted to the pins. It's now just before gluing the leaves on and choose to paint the actual flower heads. So for this row here we're going to do them all bright yellow, so the dandelions are in flower. And the other side will represent the heads when they're in seed. Start off with a base layer of grey. Then over the top of that just give a little wash of matte white. This is because when you look at the seed heads themselves, they've actually got that sort of opaque white tint with the seed ball in the middle. So also at this point I noted that when dandelions are in seed, the stems appear to have a bit of a brown shade to them, whereas when they're in flower they're green. So again, we'll just give those a little bit of a touch with the brush before we add the leaves. Now that's all been done, here we go. We'll just get the little bits we cut off earlier, a little drop of super glue on the back, and then carefully position on the stem. I'll make sure this is about square, and there we go. Again, it's worth noting, depending on the type of weed you're doing, leaves and foliage around the actual flower heads at different positions, different heights. With the dandelion, the head itself is right up above them. So here's a few we've now got done, and they are I'll say ready. As you can see, the ones that are seed head are the grey with the slightly brown stem, and obviously the ones that are in flower are bright yellow with all green below. So now we're happy with how they're looking. They're about ready to go upstairs and be fitted onto the layout. This is the, we'll call it the easy bit. Here you can see the bankling we're working on. This is all static grass, and we've got a bit of a blend of woodland scenics fine scatter spread across for a base layer with some of the weeds. And all we do with these to plant the dandelions in is just push them into the polystyrene. There we go, nice and easy. Just be nice and careful as you go along. You don't want to, first of all, knock those leaves off with glued on, and second of all, we don't want to knock the paint off the head. So we'll just quickly get these pushed in here. I think it's worth noting, again, with certain types of weeds and different plants, they all sort of seem to grow in different ways. One thing I noticed with looking at dandelions is the plant itself, when it's in flower, it sits quite low to the floor, so they aren't overly tall on the stem, and everything sort of just sits around them. However, when they've gone to seed, they seem to grow a lot taller, and they sit sort of almost twice as high in some cases. So again, when positioning these, they go in groups, sort of bunches all over the place, but the ones that have gone to seed sit right above the rest. So getting them at different levels like that, different heights, I think just makes a bit of a difference to the overall effect. If anything, just improves the look of what you're doing. You know, all different plants grow differently. They all compete for sunlight and nutrients and this sort of thing. So again, how you position them on your layout should be different depending on the type of plant you're doing. One thing I did want to replicate is the shape of the head when it's gone to seed. Obviously you know they are a ball, a sphere. As kids we always used to pick them and sort of blow them all over the place. To replicate this with these, I'm using a little blob of super glue. Just drop it on, and obviously as it dries it'll remain a little round shape, but it will dry sort of opaque clear. Hopefully that'll look about right, like that. For larger weeds, I turn back to dried flowers from the florist, and just take little cuttings from them and plant them where you like. Just like that. So there you go. I hope you found this video useful, and as always, just like to say thank you for watching and bye for now.